Are you an HVAC professional looking to set your business apart? Then the Leading HVAC Podcast is your go-to resource. I'm Kimon Hines, coach and trainer at SVE. And in this podcast, we'll share stories of success and struggle from leaders in the HVAC industry. You'll hear from experienced executives, managers, and innovators, providing you with the hard-earned insights from their journeys. These insights will equip you with the knowledge you need to navigate challenges and truly lead in the ever-evolving HVAC world. Welcome back to the Leading HVAC Podcast. I'm your host, Kimon Hines. I'm excited today to have another guest. But before we introduce that guest, here's what I need you to do. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast. If you're watching it on YouTube, click the subscribe button. And if you're listening to it or watching it on Spotify, hit subscribe. We need you to know when the next episode comes out. So make sure you subscribe. And one more thing, this episode is going to be so good, I guarantee you'll want to share it with someone else. So please share it as you listen and as you watch. All right, our guest today is Bobby Broyles from Blazer. And Bobby is the Marketing and Community Relations Director for Blazer Heating and Air, located in Virginia. And I can't wait for you to hear Bobby's story. So I want to just start off by asking Bobby, tell us a little bit about what you do in the HVAC world. I know I gave you a title, but say a little bit more about what you do in the HVAC world.
Well, first of all, Kimon, thank you for the opportunity for me to share Blazer's story and my story here on your podcast. So my HVAC background is zero. So still learning in many ways. Actually, my background is in college athletics and promoting and digital marketing, and did that for about 15 years up until the pandemic in 2020. And obviously that world kind of came to a halt, and had to look for some other opportunities, and was blessed with this opportunity to come. My father, he's always been more proactive in regards to looking for different ways to promote his business. And one area was promotion, marketing, and things of that nature, trying to get the name out there. It was a great word of mouth business. It's been part of the SB process for so long, but the next step was to share this process to our community. And that's a strength of mine, which is networking, storytelling. And that's really kind of where my role came into play is, okay, how do we take our company, who's now with, 10 employees in 2020, and share what we do, sell our value, and what differentiates us from other competitors in the area. And, slowly but surely, we got involved into the community right away, started on some small scale stuff. A lot of people go to little leagues and local sporting events and just put up a banner, either because their kid plays or they feel like they expect a quick ROI on a $100, $200 banner. Our process is, yes, we did that, but then on top of that, we want to be involved. We want to be a part of the event. So we started showing up to their events, setting up a table, passing out some goodies such as pins and koozies and magnets, and really just kind of sharing, having people come over and talk to us and talk to me, and us to be able to share our story, where we're located, little things like that. So that's kind of where it started.
Okay, Bobby, you gave us so much share. That's so much. So let's start here. I want to talk about your background and the fact that you mentioned your dad owned the business. So take us back. How long has your dad owned Blazer? And maybe if you could tell us, if you weren't involved, like what did you see from the outside with his work building this business?
Absolutely. So he took over Blazer in around 2005. They had 90 people actually, the employees at the time. It was a new construction, commercial, and residential all-encompass service. He came in with a partner who had sole ownership, and then he was struggling. And my father had never been a business owner before, but he had always had great mentors. Growing up, he had started in what the HVAC guys called the holes at 18 years old, and slowly built into being an inventory manager for a lot of supply houses, and worked his way up the ranks and had some great role models. And then around 2005, they really kind of pushed him actually they're like, this is your opportunity to be a business owner, even though at 55 years old, he could have coasted into retirement, in one of these supply houses, but he really felt passionate enough to really want to own a business. And then a couple years into ownership, the recession hit, and the partner that he was working with decided he didn't want to be a part of it anymore. And the company needed to downsize, obviously, during that time because of the recession. New construction came to a halt. So he rebuilt Blazer. I mean, it's a phenomenal story into a model of residential only service. But with that came a lot of personal sacrifice. Went down to 4 employees at one point, unfortunately, and just trying to make ends meet. But there's 2 of those guys that are still with us from those times in late 2000s. And then now we're back up to 30 people, full residential bore, started a plumbing department. We're in a new building. So, watching it from the outside in, I saw him during those days of struggle. But also seeing him now in days of perseverance, which is phenomenal. And I couldn't be any more blessed to have that opportunity to help him take Blazer to the next level. I don't think we ever expected the growth that we did, but that we have done and we're going to keep doing. But like I said, not to, keep fluffing up SB, but a lot of it does come from the SB way. He always says, I put my ego in check and went to somebody who really could help us take us to the next level back when they began this process. And that's how we were able to get to where we are today. So he's truly seen the lows of the lows and now seeing the highs of the highs.
Awesome. Bobby is our guest from Blazer. And Bobby, so I'm going to get into, this is the Leading HVAC Podcast. I'm curious, was there any times when you were watching your dad in the HVAC world that you thought about going into it yourself from the more active side, maybe as a tech or anywhere else? That really has nothing to do with the podcast, but I'm just curious.
I would have to say he actually kind of steered me away from it. To be honest with you, I was in high school. I wasn't doing well in school, not applying myself. So he made me do attorney work one summer. He goes, this is what's going to end up being. But I think, that was a different world then. Not that he didn't want me to become a tech or how, things in relation to today's economy, the college and all that stuff, loans and whatnot. But he really wanted to push a college education on me and opportunities at that time. So I went and did the holes in high school and realized really quickly I was scared of snake skins and everything else in crawl spaces and whatnot. So he used it actually as a learning tool for me to apply myself better in school. And that's what I did. It was a turnaround for me. And that's what led to me going to a 4-year university, wanted to get into marketing. My passion was in sports broadcasting for the longest time. And that's kind of how I was able to get into that because of things he taught me. He goes, if you really want to get into what the journalism world, sport broadcasting masters, you got to apply yourself in school. And that's what I did after that one summer.
Yeah. What's so cool about this story is seeing how your particular skills, your career now have come back full circle to help Blazer and the partnership that's happening. And I think for all of our listeners and viewers, your story is going to be one that they're going to be able to learn from how they can grow their business through marketing, through community relations. So Bobby, take us back to now when you are now making this transition, 15 years, college athletics, you're making the decision to now come and start working for Blazer. How does that come to be?
Well, I talked to my dad almost every day before Blazer, obviously more now, but he was understanding that I was going through a tough time with the pandemic in regards to the uncertainty of what's going to happen with my job and my position in college athletics. And they had made they weren't making necessarily job cuts, but they were definitely making pay cuts, taking away a little bit of retirement, just making ends meet, which, things that they had to do. And we didn't know what that world was going to be like afterwards. And so I've also had a lot of free time on my hand. So it's a great story. Slowly kind of put things in my ear, such as, hey, we don't have a Facebook page. Do you mind looking into that a little bit? Some pro bono work. So at the time, I was like, yeah, I can look into that. So I kind of designed the Facebook page, started doing some posts for him and little things like that, and started researching to keep myself busy because he knows I like to stay busy. Then he wanted me to start talking to their account managers for their Google SEO work and website work and talk about a redesign of the website that hasn't happened in a long time. It was a bit out of date, and that's some work that I've done in college athletics as well. So did that, sat in, did some Zooms with those folks and redesigned them a website. Someone from my aspect, because I'm more of the consumer since I'm not an HVAC tech, which was great. And then college athletic websites are very dynamic as well. So I kind of was using that background to kind of make a website that I knew had to be as user-friendly as possible and fast. So did that. And then he decided that he wanted to have a marketing position. And he knew that I knew the vernacular of creating a marketing position. So he's like, do you mind writing me up a marketing position? I think I want to hire somebody full time. And I was like, sure. So by the time I finished writing it up and all the duties and responsibilities that I saw this person should have, I went and presented to him in his home. And I told him, I was like, did you want me to do this? And he goes, I do, but I did not want to push you into it because your passion for working in college athletics, you built such a great career there and you loved it. But at the same time, I could see that maybe there was an opportunity for you to try something else. So yeah, never pushed me, never did anything that he just dropped subtle hints.
That's a Jedi move right there. Yeah,
exactly. So he dropped subtle hints, which was kind of how it came about. But yeah, I could be more blessed with the opportunity. Never saw it coming, which is really cool. And so it's been great.
Yeah. What year did you start getting involved?
Yeah, it was September of 2020. I came full bore. Yeah. So yeah, pandemic March. So yes, things were happening really fast in the college athletics space because school was about to start. They weren't sure what they were going to do with athletics. And that's where I was just like, this looks like kind of a mess and a great opportunity for me to step away. And then at the same time, things were kind of becoming different in the world of HVAC. People are staying at home working. They care about the indoor air quality more. So while one business is suffering, this business, I'm not going to say necessarily was thriving, but there was opportunity. There's place for growth. There's place for promotion. There's place to tell your story, to really show people our brand and the way we do service, because people care about their homes more than ever because they're in them more than ever right now.
Awesome. Okay. So we're talking about a 4-year period here. You gave us the baseline. You had about 10 employees. And I think now this is a great opportunity for you to tell us the things that an HVAC company can do to market, to grow, to be engaged in the community. You mentioned not having a Facebook page right now. And maybe there's someone watching this, listening to this. You don't have a Facebook page, or you don't know the last time someone logged in. So Bobby, talk us through some of the key steps that you took with Blazer to help grow the business through marketing and community relations.
I think from the marketing aspect, it's, right now we funnel a lot of the growth into more of the progressive end of what technology is allowing right now, which is the Google space, the algorithm. That's what, feeding the beast. That's what we always say. To feed the beast, which is the World Wide Web, the algorithms of the search engines and things of that nature. And there's so many vendors out there that can actually help you with that. It's just finding the right one, but obviously first that comes with just putting your overall budget together. So they put a budget for me and I took that budget and vetted a lot of vendors that work in that Google ad space, SEO, search term world, and told them how many employees we have, how much money I have, but how much I want to set aside for community relations, which we'll get to. But the quickest way we have found to grow is definitely that space. Nothing against traditional media. We have never used traditional media. And when I say traditional media, I'm talking about radio and television commercials. We have them. We put we put our video commercials on YouTube paid ads and Facebook paid ads and connected TV devices and things like that. But because that continues to feed that beast. And the reason I keep saying feed the beast, because what the seminars that I took and that I found out is continue to promote your business and put money into your business, into this search terms and the keywords and all this other place. Google and all the search engines see value and trust your business. And that's how you accelerate to the top of the list when people look for you. It's not necessarily from the traditional matters. Now, traditional ways are still great. I'm not saying we're never going to do them. I just think that for this initial burst of growth that we've had since 2020, we haven't needed them. It's been more of a want because we're like, man, it'd be great to see our TV, but in two, they're very, very expensive. Feeding the algorithms online are actually either around the same price, if not cheaper, and you get a lot more return than putting your commercial on a 30-second TV that you have no control on who sees it, when they see it, and things like that. So feeding the online platform gives you a little bit more control and more accuracy on your ROI, and also gets your brand out there.
Yeah. So Bobby, someone might say, okay, I don't have someone with a background in marketing on my team.
Yep.
Like, how do I get started with this? How do I take my limited time and resources to get the most bang for my buck? What would be your advice to them?
I'm glad you asked that question because I get that a bit because I understand the opportunity that I'm in, a blessed opportunity that my father is the owner and that he thought of this position was like, this could be really, really good, not just for him, but for the business and for me. So there's obviously so many routes that you can take. These positions, in my opinion, could also be entry level positions, meaning that not that I necessarily, I'm not a big believer in making your your administrative assistant or your dispatcher also your marketing person. It just never works out. I think that has a very, very low success rate. I think you need someone that's completely dedicated to your brand and to tell your story. But I think you can also find this person at an entry level. You can find them as an intern or a college level coming out of college because these young men and women are looking to build a portfolio. It doesn't matter if they have a background on HVAC or plumbing or whatever. They just need somewhere to start creating graphics, start building that resume. You could teach them the basics. I mean, I was taught the basics, what the maintenance plan is, so the value of the maintenance plan, just small things like that. And yeah, I'm still, I do very, very little dispatching, but you can make them the backup of the backup of the backup dispatcher when things are, in the peak season. So there's many ways you can put this person of value, make a great position for them while also using them in other spaces. But I think the biggest thing is that you can find somebody, especially if it's just going to be specific on the marketing end. I think the storytelling end and getting out in the community might be a little bit different. It just depends on what you want initially. But just from a marketing end, if you want somebody to work on your social media, start making reels, start making graphics and cool stuff that's organic and then also like kind of work on your website and your page, you can definitely find entry level positions for that and have them do some research in regards to what the next steps are for you. And because especially if you get a hungry person coming out in the entry level, they need to build the portfolio. Not that you only plan on using them for 2 or 3 years, but that is one way to do it. It can be a rotating position. It can be a rotating internship position. It could be someone that's there for a couple years in entry level and you go to the next entry level if you're not looking to invest in that particular position. But that's one way you can do it if you're looking for a budget friendly way.
I love it, Bobby. This is such a great way of thinking about this. Now, I want to get into the community relations part because, seeing what you do at Blazer, I think, and if you're watching this, now is the time, you got to take some notes because your mind's going to be blown. Bobby, tell us about some of the things Blazer is doing in terms of community relations that have helped to grow the business.
Yeah, we live in an area that supports small business. So it's playing into the clientele a bit. It's small, but big. It's a big town, small town. We're in Richmond, Virginia, but in the suburbs out here. So supporting the community is a big thing, being out and present in the community. And that's where we differentiate ourselves. And that's where I'm different. I came from a college athletic community where 9 to 5 didn't exist. You had games at 7:00 I was covering. You had games on holidays, weekends, stuff like that. So I was blessed knowing that. I was like, man, if I'm going to get the word out about Blazer, I got to go to these events that aren't 9 to 5. They're outside of the 9 to 5, so it's balancing the schedule a bit. It's putting in extra hours, but festivals, things like that are all weekend after. all this stuff is not during 9 to 5. It's what people aren't working. So you have to be dedicated to the time. And so we looked at, like I said earlier, we started with the little leagues and it doesn't take much. I'm not gonna say it doesn't take much money, but it doesn't take much commitment, a couple $100 for a banner. And usually these places who are run by volunteers will let you do whatever you want. They're like, oh, you want to come set up a tent? Yeah, come set up a tent, pass out stuff. You gave us a couple $100 for our little league, for our cause. You can come and do whatever you want. And so I take full advantage of it. Any decision we make, putting money into the community, we will take full advantage of, okay, when can we come out and be a part of your event? Not necessarily just contributing to your event. We want to be a part of it. So it started with little leagues and now we're doing concerts and festivals at a local farm around here. That's a lot of people go to watch. to see local bands play and things like that. So it's kind of where it's gone from. But to start with your question, there's little sponsorships you can do in your community, and then taking the extra effort of finding, of like investing a few $100 into getting a bunch of koozies to hand out, or a bunch of pens, or magnets, or, whatever, a tablecloth. And you go out there, your marketing person goes out there, and it's just being there. If they see you, it just makes more of an impact that you're there, that they see that you've made a contribution to the community, and then you took the time to be out in the community and then to tell your story.
Yeah. Now, talk about, is it Blazer beer? Is that the beer? What's your mascot?
Yes, Blaze is our mascot, the polar bear. So the logo originally when I got here was just Blazer. There was no polar bear. It was actually my dad's idea. He's like, I think we need a mascot. If we're going to do residential service and we're going to be out in the community and doing these efforts, I think we should incorporate a mascot. And I agreed. I was like, I don't know why I didn't think of it. I worked in college athletics, saw mascots all the time. So yeah, so we incorporated, we were like, okay, well, what type of mascot do we want to do? It's like, well, we want it to be like friendly and, kids, oriented to kids in a way. And so we had this cartoon looking polar bear that we have named Blaze. And we gave him a story and everything that you can find on our website. And he was created about a year after I was there. It was the fall of 2021. And then we finally got the mascot outfit. It took us about 2 years. It's 6 months in creation. It's very heavy investment. Luckily, I had connections in my previous job to find someone who can find a vendor who creates these mascots the way we want them. And then we finally had them here, and now take them to these events that we're talking about all the time and walk them around. He's taking photos with everybody, everyone, and everyone's posting them on their Instagram, Facebook. And I know it's minuscule, but it's free. It's an image that keeps in their head. And the kids love when the bear, now it's almost 2 years that he's been around, and people anticipate when they see Blazer setting up their table, they anticipate the bear being there after that, which that is great. The bear's being asked to go to birthday parties. I mean, it's quick. If you're out involved mixing with your social media efforts, how quickly your word can spread just as fast, if not faster than, like I said, I'm not trying to be anti-traditional media because we are going to use it. It's in our plans. But if you're looking for that quick burst of getting your story out there and your smaller business out there, that we feel like we have found the formula to make it work.
Yeah. Bobby, one thing I keep hearing you say, and I hope our listeners, our viewers are catching this. You keep saying our story, our story, our story. Mm-hmm. Like, just briefly share with us how important having our story is to an HVAC business.
Well, it's just, you're telling your story is working. It's branding. That's what it is at the end of the day. It's telling people who you are. I think the first thing I learned here outside of just normal operations, if I'm going to tell the story, I got to know what the guys do in the field. And so I sat in every SB meeting. I learned the SB process myself, even though I haven't personally gone out to a customer, but I watched the role playing that the guys do. I've done some ride-alongs with the guys to see them interact with customers so that when I go out there and tell the story, I can tell people, hey, what differentiates us from other people? The photos and the videos. We take your time. We ask questions. We give you options. Just the whole, process. So in many ways, I think I've told many SB employees, it's like, yeah, basically we're taking what SB taught us and making it our own, saying this is the Blazer way, even though it's the SB way, but it's the Blazer way. So this is,
absolutely.
And that's exactly what I'm doing. And I think that can be done at a lot of levels here with the other HVAC businesses. And like I said, I didn't have an HVAC background. I didn't at all. And that's really all that storytelling is learning the business and having someone that wants to build a portfolio, that wants to help your business grow, that isn't afraid to be in public, has to be a bit of an extrovert in many ways, and a networker. And that's what we've gotten. I've stood on 3 boards now. I've never been involved really in the community like I am since being at Blazer. So I sit on the local Hanover Chamber of Business Commerce board now, and in a couple other charity boards, just, because it's not because it's what necessarily because I want to do it, but because it also helps our business at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of fun, to continue, so you have to invest in someone who wants to get out there in the community. My father, he's been to a couple community events, but he doesn't even necessarily stand behind the table and talk. He just kind of like observes what's going on. He lets me do my thing. Sometimes I bring a technician with me. We have a technician who's going to promote. A technician's going to be here tonight if you have HVAC questions, come talk to Jeff or whoever's there. We have fun with that as well. So it's
That's
really
good.
yeah. So it's small ideas like that to sell the value is what SB preaches. That's what I was looking for the quotes,
There you go.
or show the value. Sorry.
Yeah.
And that's what our guys do that. And I have so much confidence in them. Once I go out there to this community and I have a sign up sheet where people are like, oh, I would love to leave my information. And we offer free tune-ups just so we could show that value and lock a customer in for life. I'd be like, hey, let us show you our value with a free tune-up. Not everybody can necessarily do that, or a discounted tune-up, or a variety of other ways just to get into the door. So one of our SB trained technicians could show the value of what we do on a consistent basis.
I love it, Bobby. So Bobby, tell us, it's been 4 years since you've been in this role. Talk about the growth of the company and maybe any tie-ins you see to the growth and the work you're doing in marketing and community relations.
Wow. Yeah. So the growth, we were 10 people in 2020, and now we're just over 30 employees now. Started a plumbing division. We didn't have that until about 2 years ago. So numbers wise, we were at 2.9 when I got here. We're going to hit 10 this year. We're on pace. We already surpassed last year's numbers revenue wise, and we're at August. We've surpassed actually in July. So every year we've been here, we've had anywhere from a 25 to a 40% growth. It comes with growing pains. We're very excited, but so we were trying to keep it in a controlled growth. And so that's kind of where we were and where we are now. And we've done it using this community first model mixed with the progressive technology end of what is given to us out there on the internet right now. And on top of that, we are now in a new building. We found a plot of land that was in right near a residential area, about 0.8 of an acre big, and it had an intersection where 11,000 cars go by a day. And we built a state-of-the-art facility from the ground up. People watched us build it. So it's just the talk of the community. And we've been in here right at a year this week. And that really took our growth off. We host events here. We hosted one recently, an after hours networking event. We had a ribbon cutting where 150, 200 people showed up, local government officials and things like that. So it's just really shows that this model that we really kind of thought of on the fly in many ways because of the limited funds we had in marketing. Like, what can we do with this money? Like, just be out in the community. You invest in the community is going to invest in you. That's probably the quote to take away.
I love it. Community first model. I love it. All right, Bobby, we can keep this going because I love marketing. And I know that those of you watching this and viewing this, listening to this, you're getting a whole lot of value. Bobby, tell us your website because you mentioned it a few times. Someone probably wants to visit it. What's the website for Blazer?
It's www.blazerservice, singular, so blazerservice.com. So free to visit us. It has all your basics on there on the homepage, but also we put so much about our community efforts in there and so much about our story in there and the process, video content, photos of everything that we have on there is us organically, no placeholder photos or anything like that. So we've invested a lot for people to, and then it doesn't mean that they're always going to go to those sections of the website, but they're there. Some people are curious. So
blazerservice.com. Okay. All right, Bobby, I want to get you out on what we call rapid fire questions. So what's the best business book that you've read or used?
Oh, wow. The books that I've read, a lot are coaching books, to be honest with you, and discipline books in particular. But my favorite book even though it's not craziest person in the limelight anymore, but Urban Meyer's recent book that he had a few years ago when he coached the Florida Gators. I cannot even remember the title right now, but if you look up Urban Meyer, great coaching book in regards to discipline and staying consistent, because that's what we believe here is the consistencies of what we do.
Is it Above the Line? Lessons in leadership and life.
Yes, leadership and life. Or the one book that stands out to me the most that's inspired the model of consistency through business and life. Yes.
I love it. I love it. Okay. What's one thing you want to be better at as a leader in the next year?
One thing I would say in the next year, funny thing is I really don't have anyone that's under me, but I do work with the guys and I try to best I can as the son of the owner is being one of the guys. So I think continue to be more involved in their lives. It's hard when they're out on the field so much and we only see each other every other Tuesday most of the time. So I think in that aspect, being more in tune, we have more new employees coming in and I would say being more in tune with the employees on a personal level.
Awesome. All right. I don't know if this one is relevant, right? Because you don't look like you're stressed at all, right? But what do you do to de-stress in life? What are some ways you enjoy life?
Yes, family time, obviously, always the biggest thing. But I love the work. De-stressing is being at these community events. I know that, in many ways, I'm a weird, different breed. I worked in college athletics, and when the red light camera was on, speaking in crowds and speaking in front of a camera is not a problem with me. That's where I'm most comfortable and de-stressed. So you're probably right. I don't look at it right now. So doing things like this, speaking with people, talking with people, getting to know new people, communicating and networking is the way I actually de-stress.
I love it. All right, here's the last question. I'll get you out on this one here, Bobby. If you could go back in time, September 2020, when you were first getting started, what's one piece of advice you would give to yourself back then? If you could go back and say, hey, Bobby, 2020, I want to give you this advice from 2024.
Big piece of advice to take better notes, to look into the operations side a little bit more, especially, the dispatch side, because once you do start telling your story out there, people are going to want favors. You're going to have to teach this position. And then when I start not knowing exactly the field, that's what I would do, is invest my time in learning HVAC more in 2020 when I initially was going out to the community. And then they start asking me technical questions that I have no idea know what I'm talking about. So I just always refer to call the office, but that's not always the best answer. They want an answer now. So yes, I would tell myself to dive into the HVAC books and probably get my license or take a class.
Yeah.
That's probably what I would tell myself.
Bobby, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for being our guest today. Our guest has been Bobby Broyles from Blazer Heating and Air. You have learned so much today about marketing and community relations. We encourage you, put this stuff into practice and go continue to lead your HVAC business. Thank you for listening to the Leading HVAC Podcast. If you would like to learn more about SBE, you can find us online at sbeodyssey.com. That's sbeodyssey.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, we would appreciate it if you would leave us a review on this podcasting platform. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.